Kevin Durant. At 28 years old, Kevin Durant had just done something the basketball world called completely unforgivable. He abandoned the team that nearly beat Golden State, then joined them. He is 37 years old right now. Still the most gifted, most debated, most complicated, most misunderstood superstar this sport has ever tried to define. Stephen Curry. At 29, Stephen Curry had already rewritten basketball. The man who made the three-pointer a weapon, a religion, and a revolution from the very same spot on the floor. At 37 in 2026, Curry is still a warrior. Injured but never gone. Still the reason every kid on earth grows up wanting to shoot like him. Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson was 27, the silently lethal shooting guard who needed zero dribbles and zero help to destroy you from anywhere on the floor. Now 35, Klay is a maverick. Left Golden State in 2024 after 13 seasons, still chasing the feeling only that dynasty gave him. Draymond Green was 27, the defensive engine, the emotional glue, the trash-talking genius who held together a 4 All-Star roster without ever once needing to be the one carrying the ball. Now 35, Draymond is still a warrior, still generating more headlines off the court than most active players create while actually playing the game. Andre Iguodala. Andre Iguodala was 33, the glue guy who won the 2015 Finals MVP, and the man who guarded LeBron James and somehow made it look manageable. Now 42, Iguodala runs a media company, because the smartest player in every room always ends up owning it. Shaun Livingston. Shaun Livingston was 31. The comeback story of the decade, a man who shattered his knee so badly doctors considered amputation, then came back and won 3 championships anyway. Now 40, Livingston lives quietly, letting a career that defied every single odd do all of the talking. Zaza Pachulia. Zaza Pachulia was 33, the Georgian enforcer who played the unglamorous, brutal, necessary minutes every dynasty requires, and never once asked for any recognition. Now 42, Pachulia works as a Warriors consultant. The unsung players always find their way back inside the building. David West. David West was 36, a veteran who voluntarily walked away from millions, accepted the minimum, and bet everything on one final shot at a championship ring. Now 45, West is retired and private, the man who chose legacy over money. Not many players do that. He did. JaVale McGee. JaVale McGee was 29, the long, electric, wildly unpredictable center who became a dynasty's secret weapon and an internet meme simultaneously, somehow making both work in his favor. Now 38, McGee plays for Beijing in China, 3 NBA rings in his bag, still running the floor like nobody ever told him the game slows down. Patrick McCaw was 21, the rookie who barely played and barely registered, until someone counted rings and found he had 3, across 3 consecutive seasons on 3 different teams. Now 30, McCaw grinds in the G League, proof that the quietest player in the room collects the loudest hardware. Ian Clark. Ian Clark was 26, an undrafted journeyman who showed up in Golden State, did his job every night without complaint. As had earned a ring the league almost never hands to players like him. Now 35, Clark plays for Southeast Melbourne Phoenix in Australia, because players who outwork their draft position never stop outworking everyone. James Michael McAdoo. James Michael McAdoo was 24. A former lottery pick who reinvented himself as a role player, sacrificed his ego, and won back-to-back championships as the guy nobody in highlights ever mentioned. Now 33, and McAdoo plays in Japan's B1 League, building something real and lasting on a different kind of floor. Anderson Varejão. Anderson Varejão was 34, the wild thing, the floppy-haired Brazilian enforcer who somehow earned a championship ring from both sides of the greatest rivalry of this decade. Now 43, Varejão is the Cavaliers' global ambassador, building basketball bridges between America and Brazil, one relationship at a time. Kevin Looney. Kevin Looney was 21, the youngest Warrior on that roster, a first-round pick still figuring out exactly who he was and what role this dynasty needed him to fill. Now 30, Looney is the longest-tenured active Warrior. 4 rings, 0 complaints, still the most quietly reliable center in the building. Damian Jones. Damian Jones was 21, a raw center who barely played in those playoffs but absorbed championship culture from inside the most dominant postseason run in NBA history. Now 30, Jones is a free agent. Last seen in China, chasing the version of himself that won a ring. Matt Barnes. Matt Barnes was 37. The enforcer, the voice, the guy who made every single locker room louder and made every opponent think twice before getting near his teammates. Now 45, Barnes hosts All the Smoke, one of basketball's most listened podcasts, Because players who talk loudest always have the best stories. Steve Kerr, head coach. Steve Kerr was 51, the head coach who turned 4 All-Stars into one unstoppable organism, running a system so beautiful that everyone assumed it was easy until they tried to copy it. Now 60, Kerr is still Golden State's head coach. Still in the building, still running the same principles, still winning. Mike Brown, assistant coach. Mike Brown was 47, the defensive architect who made Golden State's rotations work while Kerr got the credit. Now 56, Brown is head coach of the New York Knicks, hired July 2025 after winning Coach of the Year in Sacramento. From assistant to the main seat. Ron Adams, assistant coach. Ron Adams was 69, the defensive coordinator whose fingerprints covered the most suffocating defensive schemes in the league. Even as almost nobody outside basketball ever knew his name. Now 78, Adams is still a Warriors assistant. Still in the building, still drawing up the coverages that helped build that dynasty. Jarron Collins, assistant coach. Jarron Collins was 38, a former NBA player who stepped into coaching on the most dominant staff in basketball and never looked out of place. Now 47, Collins is a Pelicans assistant, building the next generation the same way this dynasty once built him. Bruce Fraser, assistant coach. Bruce Fraser was 52, Curry's personal development coach, the man behind the shooting sessions and extra-hour workouts that every Curry three-pointer quietly depends on. Now 61, Fraser is still a Warriors assistant, still beside Curry, still in the gym after everyone else is gone. I have to be honest before you go. Some of these stories hurt to write. David West walking away from millions, Sean Livingston and everything that knee cost him. Guys who gave everything and ended up footnotes in someone else's highlight reel. These weren't just players chasing a ring. These were human beings chasing something most of us never get close to. One question before you leave. Stars, minimum guys, undrafted journeymen, rookies who barely played. Which player on this roster do you think history has been unfair to? Drop their name below. Just the name. That's all I need. I read every comment in the first hour.